agency is going to get $2.5 million. I don't know whether GSA is going to build a factory that will provide jobs for people. I don't know. Then $1 million will go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, thereby taking her budget from 26 million to 27 million. Already, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs jumped from 22 million to 26, another 4 million. Then there's other 1 million. This is PSRP. I don't know how they determine, because for me, public sector investment will be some level of partnership that creates some level of industry that guarantees job for our young people, so that the next young person that is employed in the private sector and not in the public sector. So our young children, when you ask them, what do you want to be? They will say, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. I want to work in a factory. But you ask a young child, I want to be president. I want to be representative. Because the only people that have money in our country are those kinds of people. It's interesting. But let's look at the PSRP budget more and more. Ministry of Finance and Development Planning gets $1.6 million out of that budget. Liberia Revenue Authority, $4.7 million. Then Ministry of Internal Affairs gets $34 million for PSRP. National Identification Registry gets $1 million. Monrovia City Corporation, $1.3 million. Things is $3.2 million. Maybe prosecuting these cases for the anticipated $10 million. Is it? So if we spend $3.2 million this year to recoup $10 million, next year we spend another $3.2 million to recoup $10 million. So you owe me $5. I spend $200 in interest, then they have a problem. Kenya, if you want to buy land in Kenya, you want to buy a car, transfer a title, it's electronic, it's clear, and it works. In that way, you don't have land issue. I'm buying land from you. We're going to have our both pins. We'll go online at the same time. We'll open our pins. You send me information, I accept. The electronic document will show I accept that. And you will. PSRP, Ministry of Health, $8.5 million. John F. Kennedy Hospital, $2.1 million. Then we have Phoebe Hospital, $800,000. Then we have Jacksonville, $400,000. And we have Ministry of Youth and Sports, $4 million. When you total all this, there are other small stuff. When you total all this, it comes to $281 million. That's what government call public interest. There is so much media dollars. Why? Because there is some level of vibrancy. When the government spends money, it affects the economy. And let's face it, in our case, when the government spends money, the biggest beneficiary, what does government buy? Government buys cars, stationaries, and they do this. Then they come back and say, oh, they want you to celebrate. Obviously, it's not going to work. Another thing I want to propose. You see, we have something called the Public Financial Management Law of Liberia. That law set a cap on borrowing. We can't borrow more than 60% of our GDP. But there is something else that we can do with that law. The legislature can modify that law to ensure that we don't spend more than 40% of collected revenue on our bureaucratic institutions. In that way, you're going to have 60% preserved for development and development initiative and a level of private-public infrastructure. In many countries, I sit around, I see many countries around Africa. I don't even want to go around the world. They have money in our budget for levels of private-public partnership. Let's even take America. Do you think America could not set up a weapons manufacturing company that is run by the American government? Who makes all of these big planes you see? Who makes all of the weapons? It is private companies that produces those weapons. Even you've heard they partner with people like Musk, right? And they use the private company. All of our things are so concentrated. We don't create a private-public infrastructure. So if we start to outsource a lot of our services, we'll create employment for our people. But everything, there's other ministry does it. Health does this. This Ministry of Public Work does this. And all of these things, when you look what in America, in many other countries in Africa, when the budget is passed, millions of dollars go to the private sector. Millions of dollars go to the private sector. In one country that I'm on the Economic Council, they passed the budget. We allotted about $200 million for the private sector. And it was done through a private-public arrangement where the money was given to the central bank. The central bank then gave that money to the commercial banks. The commercial banks have specific instruction for onward lending. We realized one of the problems in our country was housing. People didn't have money for housing. So we set up a 10 years gap for lending. So if you went to the bank and took $20,000 to build your house, you have a specialized interest rate, even though the normal interest rate, and I'm not permitted to give you specific figure, the normal interest rate in our country is much higher. But if you took money for lending, for real estate, your lending rate was lower. So there became a real estate boom in our country, which created housing for more people. When you do that, what happens is that you create opportunities for your people. But all of our resources are just spent on government institutions. So the PFM law, if it is re-looked at and modified and set that structure, every year you will not have the opportunity for government institutions to just be increasing money. Every time there's additional money, then you increase it. The other thing we need to do, every year, what do you see? Our expenditure on recurring expenses is high. Why don't we have a car policy? We have never been able to establish one. A car policy, simply put, can establish that, look, John Brown, you minister, out of your pay, we're giving you a car and we set a ceiling. We're not buying more than $50,000 car. Your car costs $50,000. Government is going to let you pay 60% of the value. 40% of the value comes from government. So what do we do? If the car is $50,000, we spread it over a 5 years period, which is the lifetime of the car, and we let you pay for the car. People have been asking the question of, what if you get fired after 6 months? It's simple. If you went to a used car dealer and you pay on a car, anywhere in the world you pay on a car, if you can't pay the balance of the value, what happens? You forfeit the car. So if you serve for 6 months as minister, the value of that car that you're unable to pay, if you want the car, you pay up the value. If you're unable to, you forfeit it, it goes on to the next minister. So we'll not have a system where every new minister, every new assistant minister waits for the next budget year to put in for a car. And these things weigh on us, and it takes away key cardinal revenue collector for the country to be spent on the people and spent on bureaucrats. So you're always going to have issues in places like Nimba or Mitasi. Let's face it, if you are Mitasi, you do your INO money, you pay your taxes to government. The money government is supposed to spend it in a way that the people in Nimba benefit. But all of that money, most of it is spent in the mansion, is spent in Monrovia, is spent on bureaucratic infrastructures, and then the people don't see the government. Who do they see? They see the mining infrastructure. So in many places in Africa, you have this challenge where when you mine in an area, it becomes a problem. We have a similar problem in one area we mine in Ghana, and we had to have an actual conversation with the community and try to rebalance some of the issues. But it creates a huge pressure, and it's basically because of the way money is spent. Let's look at some of the way money is spent. The speaker, what is he to do? You want to take the belly, take the belly. Then the government say, okay, we'll take the thigh and the stomach. The other person say, okay, we'll take this. That's just it. The House of Senate goes from $12 million to $16 million. The House of Representatives goes from $31 to $51 million. Of course, it's inclusive of the $3.6 million that I told you about. That is called PSIP. These kinds of things must stop if we want a better governance infrastructure. If we don't have a car policy, every year we're going to have these recurring infrastructure. And we need to transition from post-audit to risk so that we can actually understand how many computers are being used in office, because most of these things are buying computers and what have you, when that money could be spent on public housing. That money could be spent on public education. That money, when you go to other countries nearby, you go to Cote d'Ivoire, you go to Ghana, even right next to Sierra Leone, and you see public educational institutions. The other day, I went on some visit or some project in Winneba, and I visited the University of Winneba in Ghana. I told the driver to park, and I was just in the car, and I just shook my head. Hell, you don't come close. I'm not even taking you to Lagos. I'm not even taking you to Kwame Nkrumah. These universities, the people spend seriously on the university. Why can't we do that for our own universities? LU doesn't have window. It hasn't had window for the last, 20 years. Ellie doesn't even have chair. It hasn't had chair for I don't know how many years. You have to take chair from one class to the other chair. Are we serious? And we say we're running a government, and we say we're preparing young leaders for the future. But we have people just getting on the money like it's like we are drunken sailors. Let's look at some of the mockery they make of the educational system. Total allotment to education, 53 million. It sounds good. When you look at it, it sounds really good. But let's break it down. 37.9 million of that money is spent on salaries alone. Then let's break it down further. 8.6 million of that money on goods and services. This means there will be no chairs, teaching materials will not be available this year in many of the schools. Why? Let's look further. Out of this money of 8.6 million, out of this money of 53 million, 37.9 for salaries, the minister's office, and right there in the budget, gets $1.5 million. The Minister of Education in the office. So the speaker, the deputy speaker gets 1.4. The Minister of Education office get 1.5. Then general administration, the rest of the guys get 4.5 million, leaving only $1.3 million for basic and secondary education. Teachers' education gets $28K. Think about it, gentlemen. $28,000 for the whole year for teachers' education. Then we got Center for Curriculum Development, $20,000. But we should celebrate that, yes, they've given us a budget. They put these figures because many of our people are not economically inclined and don't have an accounting background and don't have the time to critically analyze these things. It's sad. If you have 20,000 for curriculum, you know what curriculum is. Yeah. Today, I'm sitting down wondering why I did amoeba in school. The other day, I asked my son teacher, why you should be wasting my time? Since I left school, I haven't seen amoeba. I wasn't doing science. Why are you wasting my time? But if we spend 20K for curriculum development, in a whole projected so-called 1.2 billion that I call actually is a 900 million budget, then we're not ready yet. We're clearly not ready. But let's look at something. The PSRP allotment for education, like I said, $1.9 million on renovation and rehabilitation of schools. So if that money anticipated from MITA doesn't come, schools will not be renovated this year. Because that's $1.9 million. $1.8 million on expansion of school and school feeding. If that $200 million doesn't come, there will be no expansion of school. $500K for child, one child program. So we're waiting for MITA $200 million and not the $900 million that we already know will collect out of the economy for us to buy chair for our children. But let's break down. 500,000. It sounds big. 500,000 divided by $25 per chair, that's 20,000 chairs. It cannot even feed Monserrato. And when we go, you will begin to understand that this whole budget is a joke, and that these guys, if I have my chance, will have them arrested, and we will hold them accountable for the kinds of damage they cause to this country, especially this unity party. Whenever they've been in power, they've just brought mediocres to lead our country, and these guys are good at talking. You know, they say empty drum makes the most noise. When they talk, you think they have some substance. When they present a document, it's so empty, you see nothing. And under the unity party governance, the country appeared to be a hopeless infrastructure. But let's do a comparative analysis. While Ministry of Education gets that, let's look at what the Ministry of State gets. $1.3 million on special operations services. 1.3 million. Whatever they want to do, special operation services. But we get 500,000 under the PSRP anticipated to come from a MITA 200 million to buy chairs for students. But Bwaka doesn't have to wait. He's going to get $1.3 million for special operation. But why the old man will not job? That kind of money is enough to make you jump up on your bed. $850,000 on special presidential projects. So even a worker won't buy a car for her girlfriends, it's all part of the special presidential projects. $361,000 for fuel and lubricants of vehicles. Ministry of State. $300,000 on celebrations. $300,000 on furniture and fixtures. This budget have shown where the government priorities are. It's not with education, not with health, it's for them. But let's go further. The total allotment to take care of the president and vice president is EPS, $9.1 million. And we'll go into the EPS budget so you can begin to ask them the hard questions. Ministry of State, 15.1. If you put this together, just the executive mansion with Boyka and his protection for he and Kun gets $24.2 million. This is outrageous. And when you look at the allotment of health and education, it's amazing. So let's look at the educational worker salary. Like I said, out of that budget of 53, they get 37.9 million educational worker salary. The total spend on education for 2024 is going to be 15.6, and the 15.6 million is less the anticipated inflow of $4.5 million anticipated from the Mitasi arrangement. So in essence, we're spending about $11.1 million on education this year, which is really sad. But let's look at an analysis of the EPS budget. The EPS budget, they're spending $6.4 million on salaries. It confuses me. You guys have friends in the EPS. They don't make $1,000. But even if every EPS officer was earning $1,000, it means that if you divide 1,000 by 6.4 million, it means you got 6,400 EPS personnel. It's bigger than the army. It's bigger than the national police. Why do you need 6,400 persons? So how much people in the EPS makes? It's a question that you need to ask. You see, these are the things they do. They will hide extra expenses in certain structures and make it look like the executive mansion budget is small or the Ministry of State budget is small, but then they hide it through these things. Why would salaries for the EPS be 6.4 million? Why? I really don't understand. If you took $1,000 salary, it means one EPS officer makes almost 10 times what a police officer makes. These are really critical issues. We urge the public to demand and understand security, police, army, all of them, NSA, all contribute a detachment to these people. So you have all of these structures. Why do you need to be spending all this money on EPS? There is no justification to be spending $9.1 million when education has no presence in the budget. Interestingly, $552,000 the EPS spends on fuel and lubricants, more than what is allotted for education. $353,000 for repairs and maintenance of vehicles, but we're spending $20,000 on curriculum development. God help Liberia. We spent $20,000 on curriculum development. We spent $28,000 for teachers training, but we spent $353,000 for repairs and maintenance, EPS vehicle. $552,000 for the fuel and lubricants. $600,000 for intelligence gathering. Just for the office of the president. But we spent $100,000 on the Buchanan Hospital in Grand Bassa County that services more than 100,000 people. So my intention here is to help you see that this budget is for the people that we put in government. When they collect the money, they sit down, they divide it out. Then they get up and buy 15, 35 buses, and the president now, he thinks he's made morale. You know, he grabs around and says, oh, the people should celebrate him. And the people say, look, we're not celebrating you because we know that you are no different from the people you are firing. Then we have another situation. We have another situation where, I will have to wrap up quickly, reminder of time because the line has to be open. We have another situation where You have 200K for special operations for the EPS. So the EPS, 800K, but $1.3 million provided for basic and secondary education in Liberia. Like I said, do a comparison with the Ministry of Health budget. Grand Bassa County gets 100K. Government hospital in Buchanan gets 200K to provide health services. And don't forget, it is the largest referral health facility on this side of town. So it takes care of multiple districts, 17, 16, 14, 15, with millions of people because you have the largest block of people. And that's why they gave Redemption Hospital. It's a joke. I could go on and on and on in terms of these analyses. Of course, like I said, Foya has 20K inhabitants, the president from there. So Grand Bassa County and Foya gets the same $100,000. Then there is something called as other compensations, which caught my attention. It jumped from $6.9 million in 2024 to $21.4 million in 2025. Now it's $25.6 million. I'm not sure what they're hiding through there. Ladies and gentlemen of the media and my people in Radio Land, this analysis is long, but because of time, we will do a short abbreviation. And we just want to say, to correct this, we're proposing the PFM law be modified and a cap be set on government expenditure. Other than that, even if we collect $5 billion, the legislature budget will jump to, say, $200 million, and they will have justification. The president budget will jump to, say, $300 million, and they will have all of the justification. This other institution will jump to this, and they will have all of the justifications. Each private radio station in this town is surviving. LBS get $1.9 million of government money, but the citizens can't talk on the radio station. You know, these are the things that are playing the waves. They want some abuse of power. And I just want to say to our people, as president of Liberia, you see that executive mansion? I will turn into a 5-star hotel. I don't need to be in such an elaborate infrastructure. It's been proven that you can run the executive mansion right out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You can run the executive mansion out of a small place. Why do we need a whole Ministry of State just for presidential affairs? And it's a place where different people, all our need. Look, even me now as CEO with more than 5,000 employees across Africa in multiple countries, I don't really have a special assistant. My laptop is it. I have different departments, different heads of different sections, and they work. Why do we need a president to have such elaborate infrastructure? The sooner we review this, the better the budget will begin to work for us and for the people. If that doesn't happen, we're always going to have this situation. And that's why we're saying, ladies and gentlemen of the press, people in Radio Land, that we need to change the governance style of our country by changing the people we give power to. Thank you so much.
Yes, so I'm Maka Davis.
And that is Honorable Simeon Freeman,
You named several
the
institutions,
MPC protocol leader.
The First Street Training Institute, the Law Reform Commission, the National Disaster Management Agency, and a lot more, National Food Assistance Authority, and all of that.
Right.
And you criticize why they're giving them money. So if you are president, what will you do with these institutions?
So if our president on day one, about 37, I will increase it to 50. This is what I'm going to do. We're not going to remove the name from the payroll because we don't have the power to as president, but we have the power to defund them. So that means you're going to see in the budget, National Food Assistance Agency, but we pay them for about 24 months. So if you work there, we pay you for about 24 months while we transition you to the private sector. So any other money we give you for any other support, we take that away. We only pay you and we transition. In our way, we save millions of dollars, and we can do the private-public sector arrangement where we take that money, give it to the central bank, give it to the commercial bank. We take some of that money, invest in housing. Instead of having a national housing authority, we invest it into housing so you can take money, or we can invest it into, we can let somebody take $2, $3, $4, $5 million, build a couple of units, sell it to you, and you can also get refunded. And in our way, you see, we start creating capacitation. We take another quantity of money, invest it into industry. One of my key things I want to look at is agriculture. I'm not interested in an agricultural development bank. It's never worked. The last president of the Agricultural Development Bank was Wilson Tappert. Some of you that are much older. We funded that thing for years. It didn't happen. How do you expect a man from Bongo to come and fill up paper to get loan from the bank? So I want to be able to fund private companies through the commercial arrangement that will go to your farm. You don't have to go through any government process. Will come to your farm. What we're going to do is we're going to clear the land for you. What we're going to do, clear the land for you. That's one. We give you free sealing, like it's done in Mexico and other countries. Then we buy the use from you. So the poorest of the poor guy doesn't have to fill up any paper. And what happened? He now is serving. That would be the core of my program, because as a businessman, I want to empower people well, so that this tide of people coming to Monrovia can stop. So in your villages, your town, now you will have life. You will have opportunities. Then it reduces our import. That's why I talk about import. It reduces our import, and now we can begin to export and create wealth.
My name is Lincoln Peter, Mr. Freeman. Thank you very much for your comprehensive analysis of the 2026 draft national budget that is currently before the National Legislature for scrutiny. I have just one question. You talk about the budget going to 1.2 billion based on the anticipated fund from the Arsenal Method, and you also spoke about the asset recovery.
Right.
Anticipated 10 million. With
Right.
all of these things that have been anticipated within the projection, do you see the budget being achievable, or will there be another deficit?
Oh, there will always be deficit. And they hide these deficits because there is no budget assessment report, the budget performance report. And if the legislature was not as collaborative in the exploitation of our country, then they would demand those things. All right. And then what we will have a system where these things are analyzed. All right. And then it will change our outlook. So you can't build your family based on an anticipated inflow. Like I said, you can't deprive your children of school fees, food, and say, my uncle said he will send $200. So the other $200 I've collected, give me change, let me buy these shoes and let me buy a t-shirt, and those kinds of things. So yes, we anticipate a shortfall. You can put in the budget these kinds of anticipation. That's why they themselves call it contingent. But even the contingent that you put there, you have allotted it to key sectors. Even the $100 and something million they want to use for public works is also coming out of this contingent. So that means that's why they're trying to run some $300 and something million deal for road construction, when in fact they can change that. In fact, if I was president, we change that. And I'll give you a whole outlook on borrowing. I'll tell you what, Japan is one of the highly indebted countries in the world. Japan. But you know why Japan doesn't have an issue? Japan borrowed the money domestically, not from banks, but from people through a stock market. Why haven't we developed a stock market? Maybe some medicine man somewhere say we can't develop it, we don't have the expertise, when those things can be developed in about a year.
My name is Gibson G from Punch FM, the Liberian investigator. Honorable Freeman, how will you describe this budget in just 3 words?
In just 3 words, I would say this budget favors the government. It favors Boyka, it favors those in government, and there's nothing in there for the people. So this budget is just a waste of our time. So anybody anticipating that we're going to get anything from this budget is wasting our time. Look up, and that's why you see it's so terrible. In other countries, the government buys, the government does major public things, and the president doesn't get in buses. It's a shame. The only thing you can give is 15 pickups to DEA. After the whole country rose up against drugs, the EPS budget is bigger than the DEA budget. So you can see where the seriousness is. Boyka said, you know what, I'm going to protect myself because I'm building a $10 million property in 4 years. So I need to protect myself. So DEA will give you 15 pickup. We'll bring all the media people. And these boys from the Ministry of Education, I just talked on the spigot out of the mouth. We'll bring them to also talk about it. Then we're getting 15%. As president, I'm not going to ride in a bar. And that's just shameful. Under the United Party government, we got the first red light under Ellen Johnson selling to Johnson Street. You remember? It was Boyka who went to to dedicate red light, something that nobody's supposed to dedicate. Today in the whole country, I think we got about 5 red lights that people even disrespect the red light because they're not used to the culture. I can see red light to Johnson Street, then I go all the way to Pennsylvania, I see other red light. Are you crazy? How much for red light? We're not serious in this country, bossman. We're not serious. And when we keep putting these United Party people in government, that's what's going to happen. You guys can talk, In fact, these guys are able to sell ice baths to the Eskimos. Even when you're in a cold region and you don't need ice baths, these guys will say, you know, you need to buy the ice bath. They can talk. These boys can talk, but they bring nothing to the table. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Mr. Freeman, I'm your virus fifth in final report for DNS Liberia. You being a Liberia businessman who understands the problems of Liberians, you understand the economy of Liberians, you being in the business sector. Many Liberians are wanting to know what are you doing at the moment in order to less burden the government since you are wanting to become a president.
We're doing quite a lot. I think just yesterday you saw we offered 500 500 students registration fee at University of Liberia. That's the range. We're waiting for the students to show up so we can pay that. We're coming off another big news, and I don't want to preempt that. But I think we mentioned now, so I can do that. We also, for the first time in this country, setting up. You see the people you call petty traders that are on the streets. What we're doing is we're getting up. We've gotten 2 buildings for them, and for the first time, we're going to put them in a building, like it's done in Sierra Leone, like it's done in China, like it's done in other parts of the world. We're going to put them in a building, and we're going to fix that building up so they will be organized. You have a floor where you can go and people fix their hair. You have another floor, you go, people sell this. Within buildings, they wouldn't be on the streets anymore. Then further to that, we want to invest $1 million annually. Our goal is to transition them. We're not giving it to them for free. We want to bring in the goods, so we give it to them, right? They sell, and they will be able to pay back. Here's the deal. Right now, they are buying it from the stores, and the stores are competing with them. So we want to make sure we bring in those things, and we give it to them. We give it to them at a much lower price. They will be able to sell, and what will happen? They will develop capacity. So like you see down Waterside, you go, you see 3 full-out men in one store. Sometimes one store is owned by 3 men. We want to help them to get in 3 people in one store, and then over time, they will begin to spread. You notice Waterside used to be Lebanese, now it's fuller. That's how they've done it. We want to use that same methodology and transition them. So we're working on that front. We also have a project that we're rolling out regarding internet to schools. We want to put an internet device on a university campus. In Monrovia, starting with Monrovia first, we'll go to Buchanan next. So we want to put a what they call a Starlink device on every university. Number 5, we're running another project in number 1. We've got multiple projects that we're doing, but we can't do all because we don't control the national economy. So we're hoping that come 2029, we are giving that opportunity for the first time to redirect the focus of our country to enable the outcome that needs to be realized.
Okay, so Honorable, my name is Daristo from Spoon. If you look at the budget, agriculture budget have dropped, and the arrest agenda talks about agriculture. But more to that, the signature bonus of ArcelorMittal, it is on a contingent revenue.
Right.
Do you think when the president talks about agriculture in the arrest agenda, he's realistic about that?
He's not. Education. We need to look at it from a realistic standpoint. Like I told you, the agriculture budget, I think, is about 1 point something million or 3 point something million. I've forgotten the figure. Got close to budget now. But think about it, Busman. If we took one country as a prototype, and we set up a company, that company is not going to be owned by government. We take a few people and they form a company called John Brown Incorporated. We invest $3 million, and what we do with the $3 million, we're going to buy equipment. We're going to build warehouses. We're going to buy trucks. Then we go to the farmers and clear done it. It's very wrong and it's very bad. Thank you, and I think we're going to now link to the station so other people can have an opportunity.